Well, it is called a plan in name, but if we actually flesh that out, it is an employer sponsored plan. So it is your employer's plan, not your plan.
Peter, good to see you. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're talking about your 401k. Even though it's called a 401k plan, your 401k is not a plan. Everyone's most favorite retirement account, the 401k, is a great way to save, but it is just a tool, not a strategy. Peter, what are some of the biggest risks of relying on just a 401k for retirement?
Well, it is called a plan in name, but if we actually flesh that out, it is an employer sponsored plan. So it is your employer's plan, not your plan. And it is
Yeah.
specifically called an employee benefit plan. It's got many names with plan in the name. It is for the benefit of the employees of a company or corporation so that it gives you an avenue to save for retirement. But again, it is not your plan. You are a participant in your employer's plan. That's not really constituting, well, what does this mean and what can I get from this in my financial future? It is an avenue to have access to the investment world, to equities, to Wall Street, to mutual funds, and to growth for your funds, which is an important tool, but a single tool does not constitute a plan, right? If
Right.
I've got a hammer, it doesn't mean that I can build a house or that I even have a blueprint. The blueprint is the plan. The hammer is the tool. And likewise, you need to have a plan for retirement that maps out all of the different details, which will tell you when certain tools are useful or necessary, like the 401k. So some of the reasons why it's not a plan or thinking of it as a plan probably is flawed is that the tax implications aren't really going to be well thought through and accounted for. The risks of the 401k, it can go up and down in value, and specifically like making withdrawals. So the direction of your money matters. And the 401k is a great tool when the direction of your money is making contributions. It is specifically designed to help you dollar cost average into the market. And this chart up on the screen right now, for those watching, shows the same investment returns with three different directions of money. So this is the S&P 500 over a 20-year time span. And the chart in yellow in the middle shows money just sitting, neither being contributed to or taken from, no deposits and no withdrawals. And over the 20 years from 2000 through the end of 2019, the money that was in there almost tripled in value. And no one would complain about that. But if you look at the chart in green in the back, they started with nothing. And they invested the same amount of money by dollar cost averaging in over that same 20-year period. So you see that the result is that the chart that starts with nothing actually ends up with more. And that is the power of making ongoing regular contributions. You see, the market is a fantastic tool. Your 401k is a fantastic tool, but for growth over time, you are the gasoline in the engine. You are the horsepower in making those contributions. And then the red chart in the front is when the money reverses direction. And this is why thinking of a 401k as a plan is particularly dangerous, because when the money changes direction and withdrawals are needed for income in retirement, the same forces, the same factors that were an advantage when you are making contributions become a disadvantage as you are making those withdrawals, and can lead to running out of money sooner than you expected. It's called dollar cost ravaging or reverse dollar cost averaging. And then this specific example, less than 10 years into retirement, you have less than half of your starting balance. And so I don't know when in my retirement I'm going to be comfortable having less than half of what I started with, but it's not 10 years in, and I don't think it's 15 or 20 years in. I don't know if there will be a time. But again, the point of that illustration is that the direction of your money matters, and the 401k is a great tool when the money is going inbound. But when the money reverses and starts coming out, you need withdrawals, you need an income. The fact that the 401k does not constitute a plan becomes very apparent if the wrong set of circumstances pop up.
Hmm. And of course, Peter, there is a reason 401ks are known as retirement tax time bombs. Beyond being tax deferred, the RMDs also can push you into a higher tax bracket in retirement.
Yeah, your IRA or your traditional 401k, those tax deferred accounts, those are an IOU to the IRS. And the 401k has been the way that Americans have saved by and large for the last 30, 40 years. Really, the last generation have saved in these tax deferred, meaning yet to be taxed accounts. But taxes are pay me now or pay me later. And for all of those people that saved all of those dollars into their traditional 401k, the later is coming up. It's now. And so now we're making these withdrawals. And if you don't need them, like, fantastic, what a confident place to be in. But then the government forces them on you, and 100% of all of the withdrawals, all of the income, are taxable. So this can create some negative implications. A, you're paying tax on just the income itself. B, now that may push other sources of income into taxable thresholds like Social Security. C, it may cause at higher levels your Medicare premiums to get more expensive because Medicare premiums are means tested with IRMA. So yeah, a lot of implications with the tax deferral that has been the tradition in the 401k. Now, more and more, the younger generation is seeing the value in Roths. And I find it kind of ironic. I've been commenting on this one for the last few years here, as now about 10% of all retirement money is in Roth accounts, and the younger generation especially is contributing to Roths, and the current retired generation is withdrawing, and workers are paying tax on their income. So we've got three separate entities, three separate demographic groups, all paying their taxes proactively right now, and yet the government still can't balance a budget. Right? To me, that points to the inherent danger of these tax deferred accounts even more, because as long as you defer paying the tax on them, you are subject to future tax law changes or potential tax increases. And if they can't balance the budget now while they're bringing in all of this tax revenue, like, we're in for some tax increases into the future potentially, in my opinion.
Right. And on that note, Peter, I think we need to really do a deeper dive, because we've been told tax deferred is the way to go for so long. So why would someone want to pay their taxes now?
Well, we've got $37 trillion in debt, and we spend all of the revenue that we bring in before Congress even sits down and whispers about spending any money. And I know, we're trying to get more efficient right now, but there's a $1 trillion that goes out the window just on interest on our debt alone. And so we've got to reconcile this at some point in time. Taxes are currently at historically low levels, and that is not guaranteed to be around forever. In fact, still right now, as we record this program, asterisks on this in bold, as tax laws stand right now, the tax rates are set to go up at the end of this year. And could they be extended out a little further? Sure, they could. But when you plan, you've got to plan on the laws as they exist now, and then be ready to pivot and make changes and adapt if changes happen. If they do get extended, fantastic. We've got a little bit longer, but retirement is 25, 30 more years. It's not what's happening today. It's what happens over the next 25 to 30 years that determines your retirement outcome. And at some point in time, I feel like even if they're temporarily extended to be a little lower, tax rates would need to go up about 30% just to get back to historical averages.
Mhm.
And so we've got a window of opportunity now. You didn't make a mistake by deferring and delaying those taxes on those traditional 401ks and IRAs, but now is the time to change that paradigm and think a little bit differently about handling that tax liability.
Mhm. And only because you brought it up, and it is worth looking at. U.S. debt clock, Live look right now, $36 trillion. But
Yeah.
like you said, Peter, by the time people watch this, we might be at 37.
Before you blink. Yeah.
So
Scary.
it all comes back to the essential question of taking your nest egg and then turning it into an income stream. So what should we be considering then in addition to our 401k?
Well, that it's not all about the lump sum, right? And this generation has saved more personal wealth than any previous generation. And yet, when they retire with that large lump sum, it doesn't give us financial confidence for retirement. So your best investment is to have a plan. And again, the 401k is a tool within the construction of that plan. But we really need to look at how has the 401k and the ability to save and invest and having access to the market and mutual funds and growing this lump sum, how has it benefited our retirement confidence, our confidence in spending and our quality of life? The lump sum hasn't. It is the ability to have a reliable income that gives us that confidence. And of course, the lump sum for most of us is what's going to be responsible for generating that income. So at a certain point in time, again, we've got to plan and pivot and transition and start building the foundation for retirement on stability, dependability, predictability of income. And the 401k, the way it's happened, it can fluctuate. It goes up and down wildly with the stock market at some times. And yes, over time, it's been more up than down. But if you have to create income during those down times in the market, you'll find that that puts a lot of pressure on the portfolio because those dollars are removed. They can't recover, right? We're always told, don't sell when the market's down. Well, my mortgage collector, my utilities companies don't call me and say, hey, the market's down. You don't need to pay your bill this month or this year. You've got to have a plan for how to handle those times. And not all of your money can be subject to the whims and the directions of the stock market. So having some cash on hand, right? Some money in the bank to cover temporary emergencies, having some more liquid short-term money, 1 to 3 year money that I may need to access if and when the market's down. And by the way, that doesn't need to sit idle in cash earning nothing either. And I've seen that in a lot of people's strategies where they basically have 3 years that's dry docked to keep their powder dry, so to speak. You can get reasonable growth even on that short-term money. There are options there, but then a more longer-term bucket for future growth, because the expenses that we have today are not the same expenses that we'll have 5, 10, 15 years into the future. Inflation is a factor. So you need a little bit of all of those, and the success of all of those rests on the base of a foundation of predictable income that you can spend this month and be confident is going to be there again for you next month. And so that's why we set up that optimized retirement plan, including a look at how to generate income, how your investments are performing, how they will be taxed, how you'll handle healthcare questions, and ultimately, like, what's going to be left behind? How can we be efficient with that? And, some people say, well, that's not a high priority for me. But if we have a plan for your lasting confidence, then more than likely something's going to be left behind. So let's just address not leaving the IRS as your biggest beneficiary.
Absolutely. How can we get that optimized retirement plan?
Yeah, give us a call, 919-300-5886 at Richon Planning. We love to talk to listeners to the program, viewers of the podcast, get a feel for where you're at and the confidence level that you have in your plan. And if desired or merited, we'd put that plan together for you. By the way, no cost, no obligation. It is just the complimentary service that we provide to introduce ourselves to savers and investors who are proactively thinking about the financial future and wanting to make the most of it. So if you'd like that optimized retirement plan, again, give me a call at Richon Planning. I am Peter Richon, 919-300-5886, 919-300-5886, or you can go to our website. It looks like richonplanning.com, richonplanning.com. It's my last name, Richon, but it looks like richonplanning.com. Some great resources there as well. And you can always find all of the podcast videos.
Great. Peter, thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Hey folks, Peter Richon here with Richon Planning. So glad that you are enjoying the podcast. Planning Matters Radio. You know, one of the tools that we've put out there that people really seem to appreciate and really are finding of value is at 919retired.com. It is your retirement tax bill calculator. If you've got any kind of retirement account, your tax-deferred 401k or IRA, this is the website, this is the resource where you can go, you can plug in your own numbers, your information, you can slide the tool calculator up and down for your tax rate or your amount of savings and see what your tax bill is likely to be if you default and defer to the IRS's plan versus what you could potentially bring that tax bill down to. A lot of times it is a very significant savings. So if you have not yet, go to the website 919retired.com, run your numbers on the retirement tax bill calculator.
This has been Planning Matters Radio.
The content of this radio show is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. You are encouraged to seek investment, tax, or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Any investments and/or investment strategies mentioned involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Brookzone Capital Management, a registered investment advisor.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a quarterly fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.